everyone. Welcome to another week of Dance Around the Clock. I'm happy you're here. Last week, you all sent me some really awesome questions, so I brought my friend Talia Suskauer along to help answer some of those questions. We're also going to discuss Susan Stroman and Crazy for You, as well as Camille A. Brown, two incredible, extraordinary women in the musical theater world and the dance world. Then we're going to lastly learn a little bit of the choreography from I Got Rhythm from Crazy for You. So like I said, I sat down with Talia Suskauer and she's going to help me answer some of your questions. Now, just a little background on Talia. She is the current Elphaba in the national tour of Wicked. She's been on Broadway in Be More Chill, and she's performed many roles regionally. She is awesome, and I'm so excited she sat down with me to help answer some of the questions you all had. Let's take a look. Hi, Talia. Thank you so much for joining us this week for our episode of Dance Around the Clock.
Yay, thank you for having me.
So we had a bunch of questions come in from last week's episode, and I thought you would be a great person to ask some of these questions to.
Great.
So let's just dive in.
Awesome.
So someone would like to know, do principals on Broadway have to do a dance audition?
I think that's very dependent on what role you've been cast as. So, for example, before the shutdown happened, I was playing Elphaba in the national tour of Wicked. I did not have a dance call. I actually am supposed to dance pretty badly in the show. So for that role, it was very vocally demanding, and it's a vocal heavy role. So I had to do, more of a vocally and acting centered audition. However, if you're playing a role like Reno Sweeney, which is, big vocals, big dancing, I think I haven't been in for that show, but I'm sure that, you will have a private dance audition usually. I think first maybe you'll have with a narrowed down group of women, you'll have a smaller call with a choreographer or assistant choreographer. And then once it's narrowed down even further, I'm sure you'll have one final dance call that's maybe you and the choreographer. It really is dependent on the show and the role.
Yeah, that's great. Our next question is, how do you learn so many different styles of dance? And how did you learn them specifically? Was it in class, or did you watch videos, or what was your experience?
Yeah, well, for me, I would consider myself dancer second. So it was a little harder for me to pick things up. So, whereas someone could pick something up in a video, I learned many different styles in my training program in college or the Penn State Musical Theater, like you. And so we had a class actually called Musical Theater Styles. So in this class, it was absolutely an incredible class. We learned styles that really ran the gamut of, all musical theater. So we learned Fosse, we learned just typical character musical theater dance. We learned Jack Cole, we learned contemporary, modern, hip hop, everything. And really it was a little sampler platter of all these different styles so that we could develop a vocabulary to feel comfortable going into these different auditions for different shows and say, okay, I remember this word or this, this move from Styles class. I learned it. So at least I'll have a few different vocabulary dance moves to bring to the table.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to take some sort of class, right?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
So our next question is, how do you keep your body healthy and in check when you're doing so many shows every single week?
Yeah, this is a good question. I feel like it also really depends on what show you're in. I think baseline, you just want to make sure you're putting really good foods into your body and you're drinking a lot of water. I think whatever show you're in, that's just baseline health. And then work out as much as you feel like you can bear and you need to. So if you're in a really demanding show for dance, I feel like your regimen is going to be different than mine for Elphaba and Wicked. They just require different things. Your job is to be healthy and ready for the show at night. So if you tire yourself out during the day working out, you are doing yourself and your company and the audience a disservice by not being able to do your job at night. So you need to do whatever you can do during the day to keep yourself healthy and rested and ready to be able to do your job at night.
Yeah. So our next question, any advice for someone who's a singer actor who wants to hold their own in dance?
All the advice. So you don't know me, or you probably haven't met me in person. I'm 5'9". I'm very tall and gangly and long. And before I came into college, I really didn't know what to do with my body. I kind of just flailed around, and thank goodness for my professors in college who helped me really hone different skills of mine. But the biggest piece of advice I came away from college when I, experienced different dance calls and then went into them when I entered the real world is, if you can't keep up and nail every single step, right? Because odds are I'm not going to be able to do that going into a dance call just based on my skill set. Even as hard as I try, you need to know what makes you unique and bring that into the dance call. So I know for a fact that I'm a good storyteller, I'm a great actress, and I'm going to come into a dance call and be able to clock right into the story that we're telling and be able to really deliver that through movement. So I think that that's something that I know that I can do as a singer actress really, really well. And if there's a couple, so you want to be able to do that, and then also pick a couple different movements, and that the choreographer is very specific about you getting, and nail those. If you can do that and then tell a story and communicate, I promise you this, 9 times out of 10, a choreographer will prefer the person that is alive up here and telling the story rather than someone who is nailing every single move and is dead from the neck up.
Yeah, that's great advice. So our next question, switching gears a little bit, what is a fight call or a lift call, and who runs that?
Yeah, so this is a great question. So if a show has a sequence of fighting, so for example, let's take West Side Story, because I think this show has both a fight call and a lift call, probably. I'm sure. So a fight call is a moment before the show that happens. It depends on the show, but I think it happens before every single show, except on a 2-show day. If you have the same cast morning and night, so for matinee and evening, you won't do it twice. You'll just do it before the first show, unless you have an actor call out of the show. So there's a different cast member that needs to be involved. You'll do the fight call again. But you run a few of the different fight sequences, or as many that need to be run before the show, because it can be very dangerous. They're not real fights, so they're very particularly choreographed, like dance. So you have to run them with, it's a time to familiarize yourself and each other with, okay, here's what we're doing, here's the fight, let's run it slowly a few times and then run it at full speed so that we can just make sure everything is safe and nothing can go wrong, because things can always go wrong. So we want to eliminate, the possibility of that. And so you'll have a fight captain with the show. So the fight captain is someone within the cast that's been assigned to know all of the fight choreography and to be the fight captain and run them, make sure everything goes smoothly. So you'll do that a few times. And so fight call and lift call will usually happen around the same time, one after the other, because the stage is not that big for both. Lift call is a moment where the dance captains will be there. You'll usually have a dance captain and an assistant dance captain that will be there, and that will spot people, so that will make sure everything looks okay, and they will run the lifts in the show. So West Side Story has a lot of lifts, and they just make sure that everything goes okay, because we just don't want an accident on our hands. So make sure that everyone feels okay. Trust is very important. So to make sure that we trust our scene partners and our fellow performers in these moments of vulnerability is really important. And these are 2 moments where we can run them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do leads choreograph, they're not choreographing, do leads learn choreography separately from the ensemble or the rest of the cast members when there's a big musical number, or does everyone learn it together, or is it some sort of mixture?
I think it really depends on the show and the choreographer. there could be different choreographers that want all of their cast members to learn everything together. Like, I'm going to teach you all the vocabulary. We're going to learn it together, and that's what it's going to be. And there are some choreographers that say, okay, I want this time with the lead because they may have some different, specificities that I need to teach them that are different from the ensemble. So I'm going to teach them their stuff either first or second, and then we're going to put everything together. So it really depends. When I learned I learned my role as Elphaba and Wicked separate from pretty much all of the ensemble, and then slowly added people in. So I was alone aside from the dance captain and like the people that I like my rehearsal Glinda and other people. So it really depends on the show and the choreographer. I mean, people prefer things different ways, and there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah. Now, you started to get into a little bit of, I think, a put-in rehearsal, which was one of our questions. What is a put-in rehearsal?
Okay, so when you're putting someone new into a show, so let's say the show's been running. We'll take Wicked as an example because we have put-ins every single week, basically. So I'll talk about like a principal put-in first. So, the show had been running for 11 or 12 years, our national tour, and a new Elphaba or new Glinda comes in like every 6 to 9 months. So it was my turn, and I rehearsed the show for 3 weeks, and finally it was my time. I knew the show to be put in with the rest of the cast. So I had not rehearsed with the ensemble at all or some of the leads, and it was so a put in rehearsal is usually, this is how it runs in Wicked. So I would go to the theater and we would run the show. I'm in full costume, full makeup, and the rest of the cast is in street clothes. So they're in their rehearsal clothing. But for my put-in, we run it at Wicked with lights, with sound, with just a piano and drums. So no full orchestra, and then the person that's being put in is in their costume doing full costume changes during the put-in. So it's basically like your first rehearsal with the cast. And this was a scary concept to me because I had never done a put-in before Wicked, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like what if I'm not ready? You'll be ready. They will not put you into the show if they do not feel that you are ready. With an ensemble put-in, it's almost the exact same thing. So we have ensemble put-ins all the time because we have a lot of turnover in Wicked. And so you'll go into the show and you won't necessarily have the actual leads, the actual principals there unless specifically requested. It'll almost always be the understudies for the principal roles, but it's the same idea. And then you're the only one in costume, and it's just a fun time. They're awesome. Always fun. They're a lot more fun when you are not the one being put in, Yeah.
So I know, just because I know you've had several quick changes in your show experience. And our question was how do you practice quick changes, or do you get to practice them?
Yes. The answer is yes. So I was also in a Broadway show called Be More Chill, and I was not in the show every night. I was the understudy for 4 different roles. All of those roles had quick changes. I had to know all of the quick changes. So before I even was, had gone on stage and done any of the roles, I would trail each of the actors backstage. So I would follow them backstage, and for their quick changes, I would literally hide in the quick change booths so I could be out of the way and watch how they happen. So I would watch the order in which things happen. I wrote them down, and I think I got to practice them once, but then it was my job to really like remember how they worked and watch them. Mm-hmm. And so in that show, that's how that worked. And then I went on, and it's just a matter of like practice and getting it right. The odds are it's not going to go perfectly the first time, so you just have to be okay with that. So for Wicked, before I had my put-in, I went and had a quick change rehearsal with the wardrobe team. And so I put on all my stuff. I have 2 quick changes in the show, and one of them is 15 seconds long. So I had to practice that a few times and just it's like muscle memory. Like it's like learning choreography. And you do not be scared during them, because if you are scared and frantic, they won't go well. you have to trust the people that you're with and breathe through it and think of it as a dance. And once you do it a few times, it's in your body forever. So yeah, so you do get to practice them, and then by the time you're in the show, it'll be okay.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go back to Be More Chill for a second. When you said you were tracking them backstage, can you explain what that means a little bit more to our viewers? And I think a lot of people describe it as there's backstage choreography, basically, as much as there's onstage choreography.
Absolutely. So tracking someone backstage happens if you're an understudy for them or if you are being put into the show. So if you're going to be replacing them. So I did it in both Wicked and Be More Chill. So for Be More Chill, it was, in either experience, it's very nerve-wracking because, you know, backstage choreography is very specific. So there's things always happening backstage. And if you are in the wrong place at the wrong time, you could actually get hurt. There's scenery flying in, there are people running in and running off stage, making their entrances, people making quick changes in certain spots backstage that you cannot be in the way of. So you already are feeling a little bit scared because you're like, oh my gosh, like, am I standing in the right place? So when you track backstage, it's basically when you follow the person whose track you're watching, whose character you're watching, backstage. So to follow their backstage traffic. When they go on stage, you hide in another place. And then when they come back off, you follow them into the dressing room or wherever they go, just to learn their backstage route. And how they get from one side of the stage to another, or what wing they come in through, or where they get props from and put them down. It's a whole big thing. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, you just got to be careful. And it's a weird situation, but, you know, the person that you're following backstage knows it's also weird for you, and they hopefully will try to make it as relatively not awkward as possible. But, you know, you just have to do it to learn the backstage traffic.
Yeah. So our last question is from me. I always ask this at the end. Do you have any story that you can share with us of something funny that happened on stage or a mishap? Do you have anything?
Oh, always. I mean, one big one is during Be More Chill, I had a few dates that were set in stone for me to go on as one of the characters, and it was my Broadway debut, so my family like flew up from Florida, and friends, and I had a ton of people coming to see me. And for one of the shows, my character performed her like big solo in Act 2 on a bed, and she comes in. So again, full family in the audience. I come in, and the only piece of furniture on stage is supposed to be that bed, and I walk into the room on stage, and the bed is not there. It's just an empty stage. And so I'm like, okay, you just have to do something. So I started the song, and I'm like literally rolling on the ground doing it. And like the two other actors on stage with me are like trying not to laugh. I'm looking off stage to see where the bed is, and it's like halfway down from the flies. They're like bringing it down, trying to get it onto the stage. And I'm like, you just have to keep going. That's what you have to do. The show must go on. So I'm praying that the stage manager will stop the show at this point because I look ridiculous. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm on Broadway in front of all of my family and friends, like rolling on the ground. And finally they stop. The stage manager says, ladies and gentlemen, we will be stopping the show, or whatever she says. And everyone was screaming and erupting in the audience, and we just walked out. We waved and walked off the stage, and they brought the bed in, and I was able to do the whole thing again. But it was just so funny because it was in front of all my family and friends. So
Broadway debut, rolling on the floor.
Rolling on the floor, you know?
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so awesome hearing from you.
Thanks, Caitlin, for having me.
Susan Stroman is a choreographer and theater director who, over the past 2 decades, has won 5 Tony Awards, 4 as choreographer and 1 as a stage director, 5 Drama Desk Awards, 2 Laurence Olivier Awards, 8 Outer Critics Circle Awards, 4 Fred Astaire Awards, a Lucille Award, and the George Abbott Award for Outstanding Achievement in Theater. Her greatest triumph to date is the staging and the choreography of Mel Brooks's The Producers in 2001 and later the film in 2005. The Producers won 12 Tony Awards, one in every category for which it was nominated. Choreography is in Stroman's DNA. Her father, a salesman by profession, was an avid fan of show tunes and an accomplished pianist who played daily for his tiny daughter as she whirled around the room making up dances. Stroman says, "Ever since I was a little girl, I have had this passion, this obsession. When I hear music, I see visions of people dancing. It's always been that way, so I can't listen to music if I want to relax. I even dream of people dancing and moving and acting. I visualize music, and had I not had the outlet to become a choreographer, I probably would have gone crazy." Growing up, she choreographed and performed for her community theater. Something I find interesting is that Stroman majored in English in college and then went on to continue performing and choreographing. She fell in love with choreographing and directing and decided from then on she was going to just focus on that. She choreographed the revival of Kander and Ebb's Flora the Red Menace off Broadway. And from that, Hal Prince saw her work in that show and asked her to create the dance sequences for his New York City opera production of Don Giovanni. Then in 1991, she went on to choreograph a show called And the World Goes Round, which got rave reviews and ran for over a year. She was nominated for a Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Choreography. The 1992 Gershwin-inspired Crazy for You was the smash hit that truly established Susan Stroman as a star presence on Broadway. She won her first Tony Award for Crazy for You for Best Choreography. She went on to choreograph Big, the musical, and won her second Tony Award in 1994 when she again collaborated with Hal Prince on a revival of Showboat. In 1997, she worked again with Kander and Ebb, but this time on Broadway instead of off-Broadway in a show called Steel Pier. In 2000, she went on to choreograph and direct the Broadway revival of The Music Man. From there, she choreographed and directed Contact on Broadway. In 2001, she directed and choreographed The Producers. And then from there, the list just goes on and on. She has Oklahoma on Broadway and Contact in the West End and The Producers in the West End. Young Frankenstein, which she directed and choreographed on Broadway. Then she directed and choreographed The Scottsboro Boys, which started off Broadway and then moved to Broadway. She was the director choreographer of Big Fish on Broadway and Bullets Over Broadway on Broadway. She also has directed and choreographed opera. She did The Merry Widow at the Metropolitan Opera, and she did that same show, same opera, The Merry Widow, at the Lyric Opera of Chicago. The other choreographer I want to discuss today is Camille A. Brown. She is a prolific Black female choreographer who is reclaiming the cultural narratives of African American identity. Her bold work taps into both ancestral stories and contemporary culture to capture a range of deeply personal experiences. Informed by her music background as a clarinetist, Brown creates choreography that utilizes musical composition as storytelling. Brown has choreographed for various commercial and theater projects, including Choir Boy on Broadway, Once on This Island on Broadway, A Streetcar Named Desire, which was on Broadway, Porgy and Bess at the Metropolitan Opera, Jesus Christ Superstar live in concert, that was on NBC, as well as commercials for Nike/Air Jordan with Russell Westbrook. And her works have been commissioned at places like the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Her works have been performed at the Kennedy Center, the Apollo Theater, Madison Square Garden, and New York City Center. In 2019, she was nominated for a Tony Award for Best Choreography for her work on Choir Boy. She also has her own dance company, the Camille A. Brown and Dancers, who have performed nationally and internationally. Some of the venues they've performed at include the Kennedy Center, the Joyce Theater, Lincoln Center, Jacob's Pillow, and the list continues. These women are incredible. They have paved the way for more female choreographers, and I think even though they have such different styles of choreography, there's a lot of similarities in there. One, just to start with, is that they both played musical instruments growing up, so they have that knowledge of musicality and how to read a score. They also, in their own way, use percussion in their choreography. Think of Susan Stroman's Crazy for You doing I Got Rhythm, all of that percussion that's used with the props, and Camille A. Brown used percussion, like body percussion, in Choir Boy. It's just cool to see that even though these two women are completely different and they have different ways of choreographing and different ways of telling a story through movement, that there's a lot of similarities there too. We are going to be learning a section of the choreography from I Got Rhythm from Crazy for You, choreographed by Susan Stroman. First things first, let's look at the feet. Now, the most important part of this step is to stay in plie. Plie means to bend, so we're going to keep our knees bent the entire time. So, starting with the feet, in plie, we put our left toes and our right heel to the left, and then we come back center, and then we switch it. Our right toes and our left heel go to the right, and then we come center. So we go to the left and center, to the right and center, repeat that whole thing from the top of just this part twice. Let's try it a little faster. 5, 6, 7, 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep it going. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then there's an extra bar in the music, and you hit it. You go to your left, and we're doing 4 of these. So we take out the clap, and we go to the left, 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 and your head goes with it. Yeah? So we're going head, 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 and the feet are going to the left, 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 and the hands go cross, 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 cross. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just try that. 5, 6, 7, 8. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it slower. 6, 7, 8. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the whole section. Let's go back to the top. We have just the feet start. 5, 6, 7, 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. Let's try it a little faster because it's faster with the music. 5, 6, 7, 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're gonna try it up to tempo before we try it with the music. Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa! Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Thanks for joining me this week on Dance Around the Clock. This episode was part of our larger season digital clock. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website, collegelightoperacompany.com. See you next time.